Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now I do all things crafty, but on today's video I'm going to make a 2-layered wood sign with my xTool P2 CO2 laser. It's a 55-watt laser. Now I got the inspiration for what I'm doing on Pinterest. I found something kind of similar, but mine's going to be quite different from it. You could use this same process for a lot of different things. We're going to talk about that as we get into the video. But what I'll use today is my xTool P2 laser, my computer. I made my design in Inkscape. That's a free design software. You actually could design this whole thing in the xTool Creative Space software, but I like to design in Inkscape. It's what I learned on, and I can save my designs as SVG images. That way, if I want to use them on vinyl, cardstock, or other things, I can take it into a machine like a Cricut or a Silhouette. So I designed it in Inkscape. Now the wood that I'm going to use is 3mm thick basswood. This is what it looks like to start out. Now I got this from xTool, but I also have quite a bit that I bought at Home Depot, and then my husband just cut them down for me. So it starts looking like this. One layer I painted with black chalk paint. It looks like this, and here's the chalk paint that I used to paint that. And then the other layer, it's going to be plain basswood, but I've already masked it. And so I have some paper masking that I use. I masked the entire front, and then here's the back. So I wrapped it around, stuck it down. It doesn't stick very well because it's a low tack tape or a medium tack tape. So then I put painter's tape on it to hold it down. Also, I used a squeegee, and I really made sure that it was attached down nice to my board. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and go over to the computer. I'll show you my design in xTool Creative Space. I'll show you my settings, and then we're going to watch it cut. After that, we'll come back here and we'll put it together with some wood glue. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that. If you do, tap that bell. Make sure you select the all notifications. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content. Now this software is xTool software that you use with their lasers. It's called xTool Creative Space. It is a very, very user-friendly software. I want to go ahead and bring in my image. So I go right here to image, I click on it, and then I just need to go find it. Okay, here it is right here, Our Father. So it's the Lord's Prayer. And before I add this to my canvas, let me talk a little bit about it. The black outline that you see with the words Our and Father that are actually welded to it, that's going to be the front. The back is going to be the natural wood, but I'm going to engrave into it the Lord's Prayer. Now this gray box actually represents just another cut line, but you're going to see when I add this to the xTool Creative Space software, it doesn't really look like this anymore. All right, let's go ahead and say open. And right now it's just a jumbled mess. It has it in 2 layers. One layer, let's see what that is. Okay, that's just the cut line for my back box. Layer 2 includes the words of the prayer as well as the front frame. And I don't really want it that way. Let me click back. All right, let's see. There's the words. I'm going to hold down the shift button, and I'm going to click right over here and see if I can't get that back box. All right, let's see what happens if I group those together. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted. Sometimes you kind of have to hunt and peck, but that is exactly what I wanted. Now this is the front layer, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that to cut. And then with this layer, I need to ungroup it now that I have it moved over by itself. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say move to, and I'm going to have it on its own layer because it used to be the front layer and the words together. So with just the word selected, I'm going to click on move to, and I'm going to move it to its own layer. All right, now this layer is going to be engraved, so I'll click that. And then this layer back here, which is layer 1, that's going to be cut. So let me do a reality check. We're cutting that layer, we're engraving that layer, and we're cutting that layer. Okay, For now, I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to go up and I'm going to say to ignore it. Now, if I click on the background, I can select my material. So I'll click there, and then I have the slats in. Those hold your material up. You take those out when you're doing a rotary project. I'll click on User Defined Materials, and I'm using 3mm basswood plywood. So I'll click on that. Now, from doing some sample engraving, I found I don't really like the settings that they prescribe. So I'm going to click back on it. And I know this sounds crazy, but I'm going to put the power way up to 80. And then I'm going to put the speed up to 600. I also want it to be really fine details because these are some little words. So I'm going to go ahead and say I want 200 lines per centimeter. Okay, so at this point, I need to go ahead and turn on my machine, get my material in there, open my window, and have the vent tube for this vented out my window. Now that my machine is powered on and it recognized it, I can go ahead and move this around to where I want it. Now this is about 10 inches by 10 inches. It's actually 10.758, so closer to 11 inches, and my material is 12 inches. So I can just drag it up and put it kind of in the middle. So now I'm going to say process. It gives me a little preview of it. That looks good as well, so I'll say start. Now once I do that, I have to go over and I have to push the button on the top of the xTool before it actually starts. Now that took quite a while. You have to have something else you're working on while this is going, or you are going to be bored to tears, but I think it's going to be worth it. So let's go ahead and say, okay, it's complete. And then let's see, layer 3, I can say ignore. Layer 1, I can say ignore. Now let's bring back layer 2. We're cutting it, it's 100% power, speed of 30, and I'm going to do one pass. Let's go ahead and refresh the bed. Now I put some little blocks or little pieces of wood around it so that I could tell where the bottom is and where the side is, and then there's more up top but I can't see them. With this being black and the base of it being black, it's kind of hard to see. So let's go ahead and say capture close view. Let's look down here. Alright, so I see my line right here. It is awfully close to that wood. So let me go ahead and move this up just a tiny bit. I think it would be okay, but I'm going to move it up just a little bit. Then it's pretty close to the left side, so I'll go ahead and move it to the right as well. Now I'm doing this by just pushing the arrows on my keyboard. Alright, let's go up and see if we can see the top. I don't know if we'll be able to. Okay, so it ends right here and my wood blocks are still up there, so I have plenty of room. Let's go ahead and process this. Oh, it's telling me no design elements are there. You know why? Because I had it set to ignore. Look at that. So I needed to change that to output. All right, this time it should work. Now let's go ahead and take a look at these. I left the masking on. I wanted you to see it. Then here's my other piece, and I went back outside and I sprayed the edges so that it would be nice and black. That's really cute. Okay, let's just pull this off. Now there will be some paper in the middle of letters, like right here, so I'm going to have to deal with that. It looks like a nice engrave. Now I can see right down here that even though there was paper down, there is some singeing. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of sanding. Now some of that's the paper still down. But right here, that looks singed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this, and then we will put this together. All right, that looks pretty good. I think I have pretty much all that tape off. Just a few little pieces left. Then I'm going to take this little sanding block and I'm just going to spot sand where I want to. So I don't know why the tape lifted down here, but it did. So I have to deal with that. I'm just going to sand really lightly because I don't want to accidentally sand out some of that engraving. So you can see right there, either it's lightened up from the sanding or I have dust in there. Let's see. Okay, fortunately it was dust. And because I went with a high power, the engraving's pretty deep, so I don't have to be too concerned about sanding it off. If you go with a lower power and it's really not very deep, then you could sand it off. All right, I think I got most of that out of there. Now the edges are, well, looky there. That's funny. Let's go ahead and take that off. Now the edges are dark, but they're not as black as what my paint is. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a little thing of craft paint and just paint those edges. Because this frame is going to cover over the top of this, I don't have to be super careful about not getting any on the top of my board. It's okay if a little bit gets up there. All right, this isn't going to take a lot of paint, but I'm just going to pour some out on this parchment paper. Also, let me talk about spray painting. When you spray paint and you're done, if you go ahead and flip your can over so that the little tube in it isn't down in the paint, it's going to be in the air. So you flip it. Well, let me just grab it. So you're painting up like this. When you're done, flip it over. The little straw in there is going to be up in the air, and you're going to depress your little push thing here for just a few seconds, maybe 1 or 2 seconds. That gets any ink or any paint that was in the tube out, and you're less likely to have a clogged sprayer. All right, so I'm just going to go around the outside. I still have my price tag on this little brush, but I'm just going to brush along like this. Again, it's okay if it gets on the front as long as it's not too far in the front. Let me make my way around this and then I'll come back. Well, Messy Marilyn got her hand in the paint. At least I think that's how it happened. And then I touched the front right there. So I used an alcohol wipe to try to get it off. Then I sprayed some alcohol on a paper towel. And of course this is going to be covered up, but there is a flaw right there. Okay, perfection is overrated. At least that's what they say. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So here's how it's going to look. And that's why I painted those sides black. When this goes together tightly, you can't even hardly tell it's two pieces. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this aside, try to keep it clean, and then I'll flip this over and we're going to put some wood glue on it. I'm mainly just going to put the wood glue on the outsides, but I might dab a little bit, I don't know, here and there. Maybe in the larger parts. All right, it's coming out, so I'm just going to put a real thin bead along this. And you want to try to keep it in the middle, unlike what I just did. It's not going to take a ton of this. You're not going to be beating this thing around. It just takes a little bit. Now where I have that a little too heavy, I'm going to just wipe a little bit of it off. And then where I have it close to the edge, because it's going to ooze out. So you don't want it close to the edge. Now I'm just going to put a couple of dabs in here. Okay, you have a little bit of working time with this, but it will start to flash over. I would say within 15 minutes, probably within 5 minutes. I'm not really sure, so you have to work a little bit quickly. And then when I put this down, I want to make sure that it's pretty close to where I want it. I don't want to have the glue move along the edges. So I'm going to start here by my face, or by me. Make sure that on the sides it looks pretty good. And if it's good on the bottom and the sides, it's going to be good on the top. All right. Uh-oh, it's shifting. So I'm going to take some little clamps that I got at the Dollar Tree store, and I'm going to put those in the corners. I have a little bit oozing out. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off. Now I do have some glue that oozed out, so I'm going to try to wipe it off with this little wet wipe thing. And then it looks like I may need to go back and just touch up the black paint. I'll do that after it dries. Now it tells me to clamp it and allow at least 30 minutes before you take the clamps off. And then it says don't stress the joints for 24 hours, which I'm not going to be stressing the joints. Now I see some glue oozing out, so I grabbed a toothpick. All right, let me lift it up, show you what it looks like so far. I think it is gorgeous. I love that. Oh, and look, even down here where I had some paint. Yes, you can see a little bit, but it's not too bad. So other things that you might do with this, you could put the verse of a song and the name of the song. So maybe you had a first dance at your wedding, and the name of your song could be like the Our Father, and then part of the song could be in there. Maybe you put Our Family, and you put the names of all your family members in there. You could even organize the back of it, kind of like a crossword puzzle. I think that'd be cute with names on it. There's so many things you could do with this. So I'm going to go ahead and let this sit. I'll probably let it sit overnight, and then tomorrow I can put a hanger on it, or I can put string on it, twine on it. I could even put it on one of those easel photo holders and use it that way. I'm not really sure yet, but I'll figure out something to do with it. Thanks so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate it, and until my next video, bye-bye.